This is Laura DeFranco, holistic physical therapist and owner of Brave Healer Productions. I'm excited to bring you my new holistic healing series where you're going to learn from the experts what it means to live fiercely alive, mind, body, and soul. I invite you now to take a breath, relax, and feel the vibe of the words my guest has to share with you today. Hey everybody, welcome and thank you for tuning in, everyone. Today I'm excited to have Elle Browning on the show. She's going to help me with this mission I have around here to change the world one brave word at a time. Elle Browning is a licensed massage therapist, certified coach, and consultant with over a decade of experience as an entrepreneur in the wellness industry. Her mission is to empower empathic entrepreneurs to share their gifts with the world by creating sustainable and profitable businesses. And you guys are going to find her at ellebrowning.com. I'm going to link you up in the show notes. Welcome, Elle. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Laura.
Okay, the poet in me just read empower empathic entrepreneurs, that triple E. I love that. I don't know why I'm so corny. I'm like a total poetry geek when it comes to alliteration.
I love alliteration too.
So how did you get here doing what you're doing in the world? Tell us a little bit of your story.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, I mean, how far back do you want to go? I'll start the 10 years in the wellness industry. I was like a starving artist living in New York City. I was a painter and I was a nanny. And when the 2008 financial crisis hit, I found myself unable to make ends meet. And I was kind of like, I feel like it's really time to go forward with a calling. And I always knew, like, I was a Reiki practitioner and I always, did that just for fun. And I wanted to do some healing work. And I looked into a massage therapy program. It felt like a good fit. And so I enrolled there, and then, 6 months later, I was a massage therapist and growing my private practice. And that's when I really fell in love with entrepreneurship and how empowering it is, and that amazing synergy that can happen when you feel like you're really in touch with your purpose. And as an entrepreneur, you're really empowered to make decisions around how to put that purpose out into the world in a positive way that benefits other people. I also feel like, part of my why, I've seen a lot of suffering in my life, like all of us have, and always felt compelled to do something about it. And this just seemed like a really unique avenue that suited me well to do that.
So I ran a cash private practice in physical therapy for 12 years, and that was after another almost 20 working for other people. So I totally hear what you're saying in terms of like, well, wanting to be my own boss, was one of the biggest pros. But aligning that purpose and my passion into something that I then had control of, right? So talk to me about what some of the pros and cons are of having your own private practice.
I think one of the biggest pros is what I sort of already alluded to about being able to have a really values-based career where as an entrepreneur, you can really live your life according to your own values and have your career reflect that. And so I think there's so much freedom and also integrity in being able to do that. I also think there's the obvious pros of like setting your own schedule and setting your own rates for something that feels, aligned for you and for your clients. And I think, it's ultimately a lot around freedom. And that's what I hear a lot of clients talking about too, is the freedom to be your own boss and make your own choices. And I think the cons are the risk, the inherent risk in doing that. And I think there's a balance to that. Like the more freedom, then the more responsibility we have. And then also the greater risk of, if you have a global pandemic and you have to keep your business running or decide to close your business, then that's all on your shoulders. But I've always been really happy to to live in that unknown space.
Well, yeah. So we're going to get to talking about that pandemic that we're in the middle of. And you believe that now is a perfect time to build and grow that private practice. So let's get to that in a minute, because what I want to ask you is, to be able to move into the risks takes a particular mindset. I mean, share the way that you do it. What are one or two important things about that mindset that I'm going to have to practice to be able to take risk and like not have a nervous breakdown?
Right. Well, I think it's all about taking calculated risks, right? So we're not just sort of willy-nilly just taking any kind of risk. We're gathering data, we're seeking out counsel from, mentors and colleagues. So it's not willy-nilly risk, it's calculated risk. And I think also some of what I find personally and with the people I work with is that a lot of times healers become healers because they have survived some sort of trauma in the past. And what that sometimes does is creates a personality where you understand that sometimes things fall apart, but you also know that you can piece them back together again and heal from it. And so sometimes when I, as an entrepreneur, think about taking risks, I connect to that survivor part of me that says, I know I can make it. And I know that things that are broken can be made whole again. And so for me, that's been helpful.
I love that. I call her the warrior for sure.
Yes. Yes.
So why now? Why is now a perfect time to build this private practice? Like, in the lockdown, shutdown, whatever down period, all I could hear around me was, first of all, we had to close our one-on-one touching private practices for lots of obvious reasons. But then there was this weird period in the middle where we were allowed to like go back into it, and people were putting protocols into place, masks and hand sanitizer and wait in your car and call me and tell me you're here, and all the things, that are going on still, actually, as at the time that you and I are recording this. So how can now be an ideal time to build? Talk to us about this. This is so important.
Yeah, I love this question. So as we know, as entrepreneurs and healers, anytime there's a great need, there's a place for the people who can meet that need. And right now, there are a lot of people who need a lot of healing. So it's a great time for healers to be able to find clients. The other reason is that in the middle of this pandemic, a lot of businesses have closed and opened doors in existing referral networks that were not there previously. So for example, I had a massage therapy business where I employed 6 people and sort of took the pandemic as a sign that it was time for me to move forward with my coaching and consulting work, which I felt like was more in alignment with what I really, really wanted to do. So in my city where I live, anyone who sent massage clients to me in my business now needs new people to send them to. And I think this creates open opportunities for new entrepreneurs who want to step in and meet those needs. I think also in the middle of a pandemic, I think it's a great time for people to be able, as practitioners, to be able to make decisions for themselves about when they want to work, with whom they want to work, how much they feel they should be compensated for that work. And I think in your private practice, you can make those decisions, and it's honestly more profitable too.
I think that so many people, if they didn't pivot and they stayed with what they were doing, then they had to get very creative. But the biggest gift was the clarity that you're talking about. Yeah, that's, essentially that is what you're talking about. Clarity about why I'm doing what I'm doing, about how I want to do it, about how much I want to charge for it, about how much I'm worth, about all of the things, right? So the clarity got super crystal clear for a lot of people, whether they decided to pivot or, again, not, right? And I love that. Clarity is a beautiful thing.
I think that's so true. And that really resonates with me personally. I mean, I think this pandemic has caused a lot of us to ask really important questions about what really matters? What am I here to do? If not now, when? I know myself, I was like, what am I waiting for? Am I waiting for a sign from somewhere that maybe it's timed, that there's movement that's wanting to happen? So yeah, it's a powerful time and difficult, and difficult.
It is both things.
Yeah.
It really is. I think the level of difficulty makes it powerful. Like I had somebody tell me once that, I love big problems because that means I have the potential for big ass victories.
Yes.
Right. And so got to be careful what you wish for, of course, in terms of big problems. But when you're faced with them, you don't have to run and hide. You can embrace, the level of difficulty because, there's a possibility for, big victory there.
Absolutely.
That's the mindset I've been talking about, right? That's the mindset you have to adopt as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. It's the warrior, it's the survivor, the healer. Yeah. 100%.
You talked about the why a minute ago, and I want to dive into that a little bit more. It was one of our talking points today that when I read over it before we started to get on with each other here, I thought, okay, if people could get a little bit more clarity about the why, then everything else would fall into place. Talk to me about this.
Absolutely. Well, I want to give credit where it's due to where I first started thinking about the why, and that was Simon Sinek's famous TED Talk. Yeah. So anyone listening, if you haven't checked it out, just go on YouTube and search it, Simon Sinek. So talking about the why, I think number one, it's essential for us as entrepreneurs to get in touch with our purpose. Like if we're not really connected to our why, I don't know what our chances of longevity are. Something else is that I feel like this is module 1 of the coaching program that I teach. It's an online virtual group coaching program. And the very first thing is getting in touch with like, why are you doing what you're doing? What are your values? What's your mission? What is the purpose? Because that creates a really solid foundation to build on top of. And further down the road, when you're in business for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you can look back and say, are my actions today in alignment with my values? Or have my values upgraded and changed? Have I learned more? So I think it's a really good foundation for us to make decisions as entrepreneurs. And I have more to say about that. And I think also it's something to draw on when times get hard.
Oh my gosh. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I remember in the beginning, surprising myself when I would do some of these kinds of exercises and surprising myself with, whoa, do I even know? Like, I'm not even really sure I knew the why. I knew the purpose. I did know that I had a massive amount of passion for helping people, and that was enough to keep me moving toward the why. But do you also agree that as we evolve, our why becomes clearer and clearer, right?
I think it becomes more specific. And I think that why is what enables us to connect with the clients that we serve in a really powerful way. Because when that why is resonant with our clients, then I think it makes marketing and sales really easy. And it comes from a place of great integrity that's really based in. Yeah.
We got to talk more about this, and you're going to help all of our listeners who are healthcare practitioners, and they are struggling right now to market their practices and market everything that they're doing. And marketing is kind of like the sales word. It's like you start to have this energy about you when you talk about it. So help us reframe this. How does knowing my why help me market my program better? Like, what do I need to do there?
Yeah. Such an amazing question. What I find sometimes working with folks in coaching gets to the root of that is about, do you think you need to be someone other than you are to get clients? Because that's sometimes when it can really start to feel icky. Like if you're trying to sell something that is not authentically you, or you're trying to sell something to people that just don't want it, they both feel icky for a reason, because that is not ideally how we're going to be marketing. We're marketing from a place of authenticity, where what we are offering is something that comes from a really heart-centered, genuine place and we're marketing it to people who want to receive what we have to give.
Well, so I don't always know, right, who's consuming. And so that part aside, you know, you talk about authentic you. Like, I gotta be the authentic me no matter what I'm doing. If I am the face of my business, and I am not, if I'm like trying to make her up as I go in terms of my marketing, you know, not only do we feel that, like, I think you can be called out, you know, really, really easily when somebody is in sort of a fake energy. I don't know if that's the right word, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah. And I think
So,
it's a process.
yeah. So what's important in that process? Like, what am I looking for in terms of when I'm in the process of creating the marketing, whether it be a writing or a video or doing my sales page or my emails, right? So give us a tip there.
Well, I'm not sure if this answers your question, but something that I've found helpful in creating those things is I actually learned from my teacher and mentor, Paulette Rayo of True North Resources. She heads up the coaching program at NYU, or at least she used to. And she, in her book, talks about her book, Conscious Marketing, talks about a TPSV statement, which is talking about who is your target market, what is a problem that you solve, what is a solution you provide, and what's the value of it. So something like, I serve empathic entrepreneurs who are feeling overwhelmed and confused. The solution I provide is a coaching program that helps them get clear on what their mission is. Now I'm like, the problem was that they're confused and overwhelmed, and then the value is so that they can have a life where they feel like their career is in integrity with who they are and what they want to put out into the world. I don't know if that actually answered your exact question.
No, that's good. It gives people a little bit of a framework of things that they need to be thinking about, because obviously, you know, the more that you express it, the better you get at expressing it. You get more clear about what it is, and then you tweak it, and then you practice again, right? And I always want to encourage people to find that clarity, but it really does come through taking action. You do have to try things out and see how they feel, and you know.
That's exactly it, right? That you do have to take action and just try it out. And I think something that we're all, I can say I've been guilty of, is procrastinating is a way of self-sabotage and not putting myself out there because I'm afraid of the feedback and what will people think. But I think it is true that clarity comes from action. Absolutely.
So you guys remember later to drop down into those show notes. You're going to find Elle's website, ellebrowning.com, and you can learn more about marketing your private practice, growing your practice, even in the middle of a pandemic. It's totally doable. She's going to help you understand just exactly how to do that. So what do you love to do so much you lose track of time?
So many things.
I know, right? Tell me a few.
So many things. I love making art. I'm a painter, so I love painting. I know you're also a writer and creative yourself, Laura. I feel like that's common with a lot of empathic entrepreneurs. They're also creative folks. And I genuinely love having conversations with people and reflecting their own light and brilliance back to them. I really do lose time doing that. Just hearing what other people are passionate about and encouraging them to go for it. And also rubbing my dog's belly. I could do that. I could give him scritches all day long.
I hear you on all of those points. Painting while I'm scratching the dog's belly. That would be the double whammy, right? I don't know. Oh, that's awesome. You know, I want to spend a minute or two talking more about why it's important to be doing those things that we love. And even if it's, you know, my job is my job, but it's not a job anymore. What I do is who I am, and I don't have any apology about my life being that whole space that I play in. And if I am working with clients or if I'm painting for myself, I want to be in joy as much as possible. Those high vibes are real to me, palpable to me. So talk to me a little bit about how you help your clients know that and why that's important.
Well, I think I'm a work in progress in terms of how I'm helping clients do that. I think for sure is modeling it in my own life. I think creating space for dialogue and encouraging a new way of being that's not the old status quo, which is nose to the grindstone and hustle culture and all of that. Like, I've totally fallen in love with the NAP ministry. Are you familiar? Do you follow them on Instagram? Yeah.
I haven't, but I just love that name.
Oh, it's so good. It's like rest as resistance. I think I agree with you. Absolutely. Like, having that space for creativity and inspiration. That's actually where a lot of our best quote unquote work comes from. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just encouraging the folks I work with that it's maybe cliche at this point, but that we can't pour from an empty cup, that we have to think ourselves first. So one of the ways I do that is encouraging the entrepreneurs I work with to really set clear boundaries around how many hours they're going to work and when, and how much they're going to get compensated for it, because having those clear boundaries really allows the time, I think, to be gentle with ourselves and to practice self-care and to engage in those activities that bring us joy and make us feel fully alive. And ironically, like, that's where the most inspired work comes from, is from not nose to the grindstone hustle culture. It's from, yeah.
Yes, I'm doing the yes with an exclamation point at the end of that. I've found that when I give from the overflow, I always have enough to keep giving, right? So talk to me just a little bit more about your own self-care routine. I mean, where are you at with that? I know that my roller coaster of self-care goes in both directions all the time, and sometimes I'm really great about it and other times I'm not, but I try to listen to those signs I'm going in the wrong direction. Tell me a little bit more about your routines.
Oh, I completely identify with what you're saying about there's sometimes a roller coaster, like sometimes I'm better. So, well, I don't want to use that kind of language. Sometimes I'm more attentive to my own self-care. I think being a massage therapist for so many years created in me, it was this beautiful thing where I couldn't be advocating for my clients' self-care all the time and not be practicing it myself. It just felt really out of alignment with my own integrity. So pre-pandemic, it was getting regular body work. Like, that was really huge. Since March, I think I've only had like acupuncture and massage maybe 3 times. But I've as of late have a pretty regular yoga practice, which I do in the morning, which I find really helpful to connecting to my highest self, and honestly, just my parasympathetic nervous system, just managing stress. For sure, getting a good night's sleep. I love tea. Like, tea is like a ritual thing for me, which I never used to be into. Like, when I was much younger, I was like, I don't get the whole tea thing. I was like, I don't get it. I'm like, it's just flavored water. And now I'm like, oh no, it's the tactile experience of taking a moment to do something tender and nurturing for yourself, to warm yourself from the inside out.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. And I think also, especially given the current climate, connecting with friends and family has been essential to my self-care. Like, really making time to have those meaningful conversations with the people that I love the most, that is huge. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
What about you? What do you?
Well, I love that you're talking about rituals and practices and getting outside, walking. We have woods nearby, walking in the woods for me.
Awesome.
Yeah, walking or jogging, it depends on if I want to amp up my exercise. But when I'm moving my body, I can be less in my head and more feeling and sensing everything around me. And that's been so, so important for me, for my self-care. And, you know, just those of you who are watching, listening to this conversation, just asking yourself the question, you know, what am I doing on a regular basis, not just once in a while? And you mentioned sleep, which, right, is its own really important thing. But what else are you doing to serve from the overflow versus serving from your reserves? It's a really great question. So Elle, I want to give you a chance to talk about any programs and things you have going on right now. What do you want to share with us?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. My next cohort of my program, The Successful Healer, How to Build and Grow Your Thriving Private Practice, starts in mid-January of 2021. And I will be launching that program, meaning folks can sign up for it, starting in mid-December. And I am also doing one-on-one coaching that people can schedule with me anytime at my website, ellebrowning.com. And if folks are just interested and want to explore working with me, I offer a free call, free discovery call for about 30 minutes. And that can also be found on my website, ellebrowning.com.
Awesome. Thank you. So any last words for our viewers today? Anything you want them to remember about this entrepreneurial journey?
Fortune favors the brave. And I believe that everyone is born with a purpose. And it serves no one to play small. And that sometimes I find a lot of folks feel like they need permission to be able to do the work they feel like they're meant to do and have the courage to just go for it. And so I just encourage people to do it. They don't need my permission, but if anyone was looking for a sign, just do it. And Laura, I love that that is also what you champion as well. I feel like that's, you know, we're kindred spirits in that way.
Oh, for sure. Thank you. And thank you so much for what you're doing in the world and for being here today to share it with us.
Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
So you guys, remember, go on down, just do a tiny little scroll, drop down into that box under the video where you'll find Elle's info, her website. If you loved listening today, take it a step further, explore her world, have a conversation with her, right? And I don't know, maybe you are an expert in the wellness field who is ready to be an author. I don't know, maybe you are. Make sure to find everything you need to know about becoming an author in the next one of our Brave Healer Productions collaborative book projects at bravehealer.com. And today I'm going to leave you with one of my favorite questions ever. What if there's something you haven't learned yet that could change everything? See you guys next time. Thanks, Elle.
Thank you, Laura.
Love what you heard today. Don't forget to drop down and hit that subscribe button, you guys, and then join me over at bravehealer.com for just a little bit more healing badassery. Have a great one.